Guys, today we're going to be looking at a rocket launcher that I know many of you care nothing about. But in this video, I'm going to try to convince you that this weapon is worth grinding for, when in reality, it probably doesn't really matter. Like, let's just be real. You're probably thinking, Cross, why would I even care about a rocket launcher that's A, precision frame, and B, have you seen the state of the game? You want me to care about a random strand precision rocket launcher in this economy? It's a hard sell, fellas. Not going to lie to you. But the new perk pool for Solstice this year requires us to review crowning Duologue right here and now. Now, before you click to the end of the video, just to get the information and skip all the ads, all that I ask is that you slam the piss out of that dislike button. Kill it. Murder it. So that I will be reminded next year to not review this rocket launcher again. With that being said, though, if you are actually interested in this rocket launcher, well, lo and behold, precisions are a bit better. They did get a slight buff. And the perks here slightly stirs something in the loins. Let's start with our third column. We've got Impulse Amplifier, Auto-Loading Holster, Reconstruction, Hatchling, Demolitionist, Air Trigger, and Grave Robber. In column 4, we have Envious Assassin, Bait and Switch, Bipod, Chain Reaction, Cluster Bomb, Deconstruct, and Reverberation. A new perk we've covered a few times on other weapons, and we'll talk about here in just a moment. Now, before judging this rocket launcher too harshly, I just want to point to this damage phase by Maven. Fantastic creator here in the Destiny community, and she showed off her crowning Duologue DPS combo. And let me just say, guys, it's pretty solid. We're talking over 3.5 million damage being put out right here. Now, granted, she's incorporating a lot of different things. She's got her super going. She's auto-reloading her weapon. She's got unraveling, with a horde, threatening grenades, you name it. But the point is, it's a damage phase that takes advantage of a precision rocket launcher, and she's cooking with it. By the way, feel free to check out her video. We'll link that down below. But this takes us to the perks that stood out to me in that third column. First, we have Reconstruction, where the weapon slowly reloads itself over time up to double capacity. And the perk loads 10% of your magazine capacity into the magazine every 4 seconds. However, this is rounded up, meaning rocket launchers get a full rocket every 4 seconds. With the enhanced version, lowering that time to every 3.5 seconds. Now, Reconstruction is fantastic for literally everything in the game. An S-tier perk that allows your weapon to be ready, whether it comes to clearing ads or doing DPS. And it's a huge reason why Apex Predator has found its way into my loadouts, even to this day. Now, this is not to take away from Auto-Loading Holster. Auto-Loading Holster is also present here. It loads a rocket every 2.5 seconds, with the enhanced version being every 2.3 seconds. But you don't get that mag overflow, which is why I think Reconstruction here is just better. Next, we have Grave Robber. The perk reads that melee final blows, or dealing damage with a charged melee, reloads his weapon's magazine from reserves. Now, that is one of the traits that Maven is using in our video. A lot of people look at this perk and think it's useless on a rocket launcher, but it's the ability to work with powered melee hits. Warlocks with Arcane Needle can use this to reload their rockets multiple times, especially if you're sprinkling in things like Apotheosis Veil, where casting your super allows you to poop out all of your abilities from both ends. It's quite nice. Feel free to check out our super damage video. Apotheosis, especially Spirit of Apotheosis, puts out. Now, the specifics of this perks are hitting a power melee, which will then reload your rocket. And then after 3 seconds, you could do it again. This is slightly faster than a manual reload in many cases, and with DPS increasing when filling that 3-second window up with doing damage with other weapons. Now, the enhanced version of this perk doesn't do anything at all except add +5 handling. Honestly, kind of a waste. Now, moving over to column 4. This time around, we have some great options, especially for damage perks. I want to start with Reverberation. That's the new one. Final blows with this weapon increases the size of its detonations for a short duration. Now, this perk gives a boost to detonation size, but it's not a huge boost. The perk is often rolled with ad clearing in mind. Doesn't really fit well here, though, on crowning Duologue. More on that in just a moment. Now, Bait and Switch is also another fantastic perk. Its description reads that dealing damage with all equipped weapons within a short time gives this weapon a damage boost. This is a 30% increase in damage, as you see here at Carl. Now, this damage boost lasts for 10 seconds, with the enhanced version lasting for 11 seconds. And even though that doesn't seem like a substantial increase, think back, Elsie. What was a point in your life where you just needed to last for 1 second longer? I've been there, praying to the gods. 60 more seconds, please. Next, we have Bipod, a perk commonly found on rocket launchers, which increases rocket launcher ammo and reserves, but it reduces damage, blast radius, and reload speed. Essentially, guys, this adds 1 more rocket in the map, but it increases your reserves by a whopping 5. Now, this gives us 15 rockets on crowning Duologue, but this comes with a cost. Bipod reduces your rocket's damage by a whopping 25%. It also hurts your stats like blast radius. It's like -30, -20 to reload. The enhanced version does pick this up just a little bit. Instead of it being -30, it's -25 blast radius. Instead of -20 reload, it's -15. I've actually used Bipod in the past, but mainly in things like Battleground Nightfalls, where I just go through there and just blow my load, literally ejecting all of my heavy as much as possible. I will say though, if you are not able to overcharge this weapon, it feels like it just tickles enemies inside of Grandmaster Nightfalls. So only take advantage of Bipod if that element phenomenal type is overcharge, or if you have a way of just overcharging that rocket. Now this takes us to our origin trait, Dream Work. Once per reload, assists or assisted final blows partially refills the weapon from reserves and increases reload speed for a short duration. Bows also receive faster draw time. Now I really like this origin trait. I love it on weapons like something new, especially considering the low mag size. But here on Crown and Duologue, not really something I find myself taking advantage of. The next origin trait though is Hockey Breach Armaments. Now this does 15% increased damage against vehicles. Sometimes this bleeds over to different enemy types that get coded as a vehicle, which is really nice. So depending on whatever it is you're tackling, maybe you got a row of threshers to deal with, then go Hockey Breach Armaments. Then on the other side, you can just roll with Dream Work. Now with all of this out of the way, how does this compare to other rocket launchers? Now if we take a look at the numbers from earlier, we could see that one rocket here deals 84,921 damage at base. Speaking of base, we have 10 rockets. This gives us a total damage value of 840,921. Now across 34 seconds of firing and reloading, this gives us a whopping DPS value, 24,733. Now I hope you know I'm being facetious here. That is an ass DPS value. But keep in mind, this is at base. If we include things like bait and switch, this increases our total damage up over 1.1 million and bumps our DPS up to 32,470. This is included with the time that it takes to proc the perk. You can also opt for Bipod in place of bait and switch, which paired with Reconstruction, this allows you to shoot off 4 rockets in the mag. This gives Crowning Duologue a total of 15 rockets, but we have to factor in the 25% damage reduction, giving us a total damage of 955,365. And over that 34-second time frame of firing and reloading, a DPS value of 28,098. Now this takes us to Grave Robber and Bipod, an unusual combination, I know. Now using Grave Robber will bypass our reloads, and if you have a way to refresh Arcane Needle, if weaving in those melees every 2 shots, managing that 3-second cooldown, this puts our fire time at 30 seconds. This also gives us a DPS value of 31,846. Now we can compare this to Apex Predator, which is widely considered the king of rockets. With bait and switch active, Apex Predator deals 127,828 damage per rocket, with a total of 8 rockets at base. Now this gives us a total damage of 1,022,624. And across a 24-second firing period, we have a DPS value of 42,609. What you see here, guys, is that Crowning Duologue is obviously falling behind in DPS. His total damage is good though, but his DPS does fall behind. And that's because its sheer reserves are so much more. However, the highest DPS Crowning Duologue will be either a Reconstruction bait and switch impact casing roll, as that sits only 10,000 under our Godroll Apex Predator, or the more unique Grave Robber and Bipod with impact casing, hard launch, all those things, guys. Those are the things that I believe is the most unique thing about Crowning Duologue. On top of that, keep in mind, guys, precision frames, they track to your target. Literally has tracking built in. And it's Strand, which opens up a host of different synergies there all on its own. Taking us to the roles we recommend for Crowning Duologue. Now I know this is probably common knowledge, but you definitely want hard launch and impact casing. But the combos that I really want include Reconstruction and bait and switch, which is probably going to be my go-to across multiple characters. For scenarios like dungeons, raid bosses, considering the intrinsic tracking on this weapon, you can definitely take advantage of Crowning Duologue. And you could pair it with other damage rotations. You can use things like Izanagi's Burden with it, or Still Hunt, or even weapons like Scatter Signal. But if you really want the most DPS, this is going to be targeted more for my Warlocks. And that is that Grave Robber bait and switch combo. By fully building into the rocket with Arcane Needle and Apotheosis Veil, if you're able to manage that 3-second Grave Robber cooldown, you can weave melees, grenades, and other weapons between shots instead of reloading. This will offer you the max DPS from any rotation that includes Crowning Duologue as the main source of damage. Now, nothing about this is game breaking, but it is a rewarding and satisfying loop that will of course boost your DPS. And if we ever do get a return of Pantheon, which had surges, I could totally see this specific role being an absolute monster when Strand Surge is active, possibly even the best option. Now, some other good roles that we enjoyed include things like Reconstruction and Bipod, especially in GM Nightfalls that are battleground and you have access to lots of heavy. Between having 4 rockets in the mag and 15 in reserves, this makes it excellent for dealing with champions and just shooting those things back to back. Now, even if you don't have a way to top off ammo, just rocking a scavenger mod really picks things up. Now, you may be thinking, what about Reverberation? Could this be a good perk for ad clear? Unfortunately, I don't really think that's the case. Through our testing, we could see a noticeable bump in detonation size, but the perk is just too costly. To even activate the perk, it requires you to get a kill and then reload. With how few shots rocket launchers have, spending 1 to activate the perk is a big damage loss. And the only reason why we're able to even utilize this rocket launcher for ad clearing is because of that Bipod Reconstruction combo. combo. Now, if you are looking for literally the best ad clear oriented role, I do believe that Chain Reaction does Reverberation's job better. You activate it on kill, you don't need to spin an extra rocket to access a perk. The Chain Reaction is great at killing surrounded enemies. From there, you can even pair it with things like Demolitionist or Hatchling, and I personally think Demolitionist is the better choice for this, especially considering you're getting 10% ability energy back per kill, and on a rocket launcher, where you're killing 5 to 6 enemies at a time, that's netting you back a ton of ability energy. Now, Hatchling is also present on this weapon, but it does require a bit more commitment. What I would say for folks that want to go the route of Hatchling, you definitely want to commit to Strand. Having things like Thread of Evolution on, and even Thread of Rebirth allows you to double up and get more damage out of those thread links. Now, if you pair this with Chain Reaction, the unfortunate part is there may be a chance there's nothing left for your thread links to hit once they spawn. Without a doubt, guys, crowning Duologue last year released with one of the worst perk pulls we have ever seen, especially for a rocket launcher. It was not even worth considering. However, this year, Bungie did a very good job with this perk refresh. It's not quite as powerful as Apex Predator. It is a precision frame, but it's a fantastic alternative. For players who don't raid or have trouble hitting the rockets and you're looking for a rocket launcher that literally tracks for you, this is it. Rolling one of the best damage perks in the game, great ammo perks, and the ability to auto reload with things like Grave Robber and the rework to it, that truly is what makes crowning Duologue a unique choice amongst rockets. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.